Tonight Show, thanks for watching tonight. A powerful group of corporate CEOs are giving advice on how to solve the country's deficit problem. They suggest cutting entitlements, but say nothing about their own corporate welfare. Here's CEO of Goldman Sachs, Lloyd Blankfein, taking aim at entitlements.
You're going to have to undoubtedly do something to lower people's expectations, the entitlements, and what people think that they're going to get, because they're not going to get it. Social Security wasn't devised to be a system that supported you for a 30-year retirement after a 25-year career. So there'll be certain things that, the retirement age has to be changed. Maybe some of the benefits have to be affected. Maybe some of the inflation adjustments have to be revised. But in general, entitlements have to be slowed down and contained.
Who does a 25-year career? I wish I could have signed up for that program. Time for a reality check here. The average worker receives Social Security benefits for 16 years, not 30 years. Right now, Social Security has a $2.7 trillion surplus and will be solvent through 2033, even if no changes are made. Social Security has nothing to do with our deficit and debt problems in this country. It's a separate fund. The CEO of Goldman Sachs didn't seem to have a problem with $10 billion in federal bailouts his company got back in 2008. Goldman Sachs repaid the money and has made billions of dollars in profits since then. But it's CEOs. They want to cut retirement benefits to the middle-class Americans. They want them to pay for it. Here's Honeywell CEO David Cotty suggesting something very similar.
The big nut is going to have to be Medicare, Medicaid. At the end of the day, you can't avoid the topic, especially with the baby boomer generation retiring. It's going to literally crush the system.
Gonna just crush us, man. It's gonna crush us. This is very interesting considering how Honeywell did not pay any corporate taxes between 2008 and 2010. In fact, it got $34 million in rebates from the government. These CEOs also talk about the need for revenue, but of course without specifics.
In the long run, there has to be more revenue, and of course the burden of that revenue will be disproportionately taken up by wealthier people. That's just logical.
We collect $2.2 trillion in taxes, but we give away half of it in credits and deductions. The fact is, you need more revenue.
The group calls itself the Campaign to Fix the Debt and includes Boeing and General Electric, which, along with Honeywell, will get big defense contracts. Some former lawmakers, including MSNBC political analyst Ed Rendell, for full disclosure, are on the group's steering committee. The real issue is the position taken by these corporate CEOs. Joining me now is E.J. Dionne, MSNBC contributor, Washington Post columnist, and author of the book, Our Divided Political Heart. E.J., good to have you with us tonight.
Great to be with you.
This looks like a publicity tour taking aim at earned benefits instead of corporate welfare. It's like these guys have the power to go out and command the camera and the exposure and to make their case that everybody else is the problem but their corporate welfare. How do you see it?
Well, I tell you, Ed, one of the things that really bothers me is when these guys start talking about raising the retirement age. And what do they have in mind? Well, they have in mind people like CEOs. They have in mind people like us who talk and write for a living. I hope I'm talking to you for a good long time. But they don't think about what this means for people who might work on their feet all day at a McDonald's. And I'd like to challenge these guys, if they want to call for an early or a later retirement age, let them go to work for a couple of weeks in a coal mine or at a McDonald's or in a car plant or as an orderly in a hospital. And the other thing is that lower income people have not experienced that big increase in longevity. So raising the retirement age is something that hits them both ways. I've heard that the White House that put this on the table in the Boehner talks last year is now backing away from that, and I hope that's true. But the broader story is, are they really willing to support rate increases on wealthy people? Are they willing to support increases in capital gains tax? Some some people like Warren Buffett are willing to do that, some high-income people. And it seems to me that's the price of admissions. If the only thing they mean when they say deficit reduction is cutting entitlements, that's not about deficit reduction, it's about cutting entitlements.
The same guys that are at the trough for a bailout are now experts on what we ought to do with entitlement programs in this country. I find that absolutely amazing. And then Mr. Blankfein, he throws out a scenario which is totally unrealistic. People don't have 25-year careers. They have 40-year careers is what they have. And construction people, when they get in their early 50s and they've worked for 30 years, their bodies are broken down.
Exactly.
So what are they supposed to do? Hang around for another 15 until Medicare and Medicaid show up? I mean, they're not even living in the real world. And I think going after these entitlements is basically paying lip service to the right wing. It's just Romney 2.0. That's all it is. So what should liberals in this country be prepared to accept at this point as you see it?
Well, I really think that we should go back to the Clinton rates, including the rates on capital gains, which are still probably lower than they should be. And that's where we ought to start. If people want to talk about tax reform, let them do it after that and let them get specific, because there are certain forms of so-called tax reform that could really hammer the middle class. Do we really want to get rid of the mortgage deduction in a way
they can't go down that road?
Hit middle-class people? We can't do that.
First of all, that won't happen because the real estate lobby in Washington is too strong. I mean, and I wish that the country would stop talking about the mortgage deduction. It isn't going to happen. There's enough people in Washington that are going to make sure. It's a good talking point for some people on the right wing to scare the hell out of middle-class families to make them think that they're really protecting them, but they're not. But these companies that are getting huge defense contracts are now experts on what we ought to do with the budget. And they're there protecting their own backside. That's the only way I see it. They don't want to give up any revenue whatsoever. And as for Social Security, its solvency is extended well into 2033. Do we really have to do anything about that right now? Do we need to raise the cap?
No, and in fact, I think any move to put Social Security into this deal is going to hemorrhage a lot of support for any deal from liberals. So I think that's a non-starter. And the defense budget has to be part of this, too. And some of these rich guys are willing to put defense on the table. Good for them. Some of them may not be so wild about that. And, you know, if defense isn't part of the deal, then again, it's not a serious deal. So we'll see what these guys do.
And, of course, I have to point out that these are the big business leaders that are getting interviewed that have gone around talking about the insecurity in the market, insecurity in the economy. I don't know. The early reports, E.J. Dion, is that Black Friday was pretty damn good. The weekend was strong, and Cyber Monday ain't bad either. So this economy, this fear talk that's going on out there just doesn't seem to be playing on the consumer right now. E.J. Dion, great to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much.
And what people think that they're going to get, because they're not going to get it. Social Security wasn't devised to be a system that supported you for a 30-year retirement after a 25-year career. So there'll be certain things that, you know, the retirement age has to be changed. Maybe some of the benefits have to be affected. Maybe some of the inflation adjustments have to be revised. But in general, entitlements have to be slowed down and contained.